This had to be done, right? We haven't actually really featured him much on the channel so far. It's going to be one that has, which is the Muslim versus official anti-Kek W. That's right. It's Marine Lord's arch nemesis? I don't know. I don't know if it's considered arch nemesis. They both seem to be content near the top of the leaderboard. Neither of them actually snatching that top spot. In fact, at the time of recording, when we look at the top rankings, I'm pretty sure official anti-Kek W is 7th. Marine Lord is at 5th. Official Kek W is at 3rd. So not really the anti-Kek W if you're not, stomping him and above him. I think at one point he was above him, but since then has fallen back below Marine Lord's rankings on both of his accounts. And official anti-Kek W is still a question mark as far as I'm aware on who actually owns this account. Nobody knows. Who could it be? There have been some people suspecting that it's Cyril, but nobody's ever caught him on it. If anyone does actually have a clip of someone on a stream playing as official anti-Kek W, I will be grateful for it, because I want to solve this mystery, okay? Detective Pigeon's on the case. But his opponent, there is no mystery here. The Muslim doesn't hide anything, right? He doesn't keep his cards close to his chest. He basically lays them out on the table and says, let's play poker. Because the Muslim, playing on that main account all the time, 54th in the world right now, 1684 ELO rating with 492 games played. And we know Muslim, he usually is the player on Roos. So what a odd and welcoming sight to see actually that the Muslim is playing France for a change and his opponent will be the Roos spammer. Roos getting a huge buff to the pick rate in the last few weeks as people have stopped sleeping on the power of the Horse Archers and Castle Rage. Castle Rage? Feels like Castle Rage because what happens is you Castle Age Rush and then you Rage Rush, Roid Rush even, into heavy Horse Archer spam to slam and spam out your opponent. So we'll have to see if that comes into fruition here. We'll have to see if France can actually combat that. France definitely feeling a lot weaker since the cavalry nerfs. They tend to go for the cav rush less frequently. A lot of these matchups, it can feel wonky. But I think the Roos one is one that can actually feel a little bit under pressure from it. Because, as we said, they aren't present until Castle Age, right? They won't build a racks, they won't build stables, they won't build archery ranges, they won't build anything until Castle Age if you allow it. So I do expect the Muslim to try and set the pace. He is the tempo setting civ in this matchup. Early on the wood line, just gets 1-2 people in there. This is going to prep for a switch over into archery ranges halfway through feudal. That's why you only have 2, maybe 3 people in there at the moment. Plenty of people working the food. The Muslim about to have enough food to go for the tech up. It should just be the school cavalry as usual. Yep. Commits 3 people to it, so almost getting double the build speed. And then when we look across at official anti-Kek W, plenty of gold, actually. I'm kind of surprised. The Muslim didn't build a second scout, right? That's a shocker to me. And a little bit of a mistake. The Muslim should know better than this. He plays a decent amount of Roos himself. He's seen how lethal this civ can be. And you just surrendered additional deer over to him. And keep in mind, France actually is one of those civs that can afford to go and get himself a second scout early. Because of that additional speed at which you produce villages, right? You'll catch up again on the villager count. But yeah, just a mistake made. I think he's actually scalped most of his. But it looks like the difference is official anti-Kek W not only found his deer, I think he found one of the Muslims, I want to say, as well as a decent amount of wolves already. So up to 365, and you can see the surplus of gold that he's actually sitting on right now. Just giving him a superior income compared to the Muslim who put 4 people in the gold vein already. And the Muslim will have to keep those people there, right? Remember that you're going to want the knights. They're going to cost a lot, 100 gold each. So you actually have to keep that trickle in at a rapido rate. Meanwhile, when it comes to the Roos player, all he has to do is drop this golden gate, and then any gold needs he might have can be simply acquired through trading wood. Wood that he is in desperate need of to resist the urge to quote an amazing stronghold game in its line. But wood is needed. But he's going to get it at a rate that he'll be able to trade with. And that's all that matters for him right now. Yeah, he doesn't need to go for this early military infrastructure. He might come under harassment early on from the Knights. I think for right now, though, as long as he's able to get these scouts out and pick up the carcasses, he's actually very confident about his position in the game, as he should be. And I believe, yeah, he's already queued it up. So Scouts about to finish, and then Professional Scouts begins. He beats the Muslim to the punchline, by the way. He invested a lot more workers onto this, I believe. It was like 4 or 5 compared to the 3. So while the Muslim finally arrives and will start producing instantly Knights, you're going to see that actually his opponent's already in position. And the other detail why it's important to maybe get another scout too early, and you can see he's now building the scouts, is because you want to combat this, right? You want to be able to deal with what your opponent is doing. So they will probably get professional scouts around the same time, the Muslim slightly more delayed. But you can see that official anti-kick W scouts out what his opponent is doing. He's already in position with 5 of these scouts. And by the way, with the additional wolf sniping, now up to 400 bounty total. Just 500, or 100, and then he hits the 500, which will give him the additional 5%, plus the extra generation from hunting cabins. Really amazing start from official anti-kick W. Like, you know this is a smurf of a very talented player either way. I can maybe see this being Serral. I'm not 100% sure. I think considering how much roost spamming I saw out of Serral before, I could believe that this is him. Especially the way he's opened this. And look at the time on this. So Scout's going to engage, but look at the outnumbering. The Muslim has to back away. And finally, he'll start to switch over to Knights. But he now needs to go find immense value elsewhere in these professional scouts because he realizes that he's not going to gather at the same rate as his opponent, right? His opponent has 7 scouts total. There you go. Hoover it all up. Takes an entire field's worth at once, or should. Kind of mismicroed on 1 or 2 of them. We'll bring him back now, though. And he's still got the safer, close-of-eye ones. Now, doing this does have its ups and downs. It's slightly less efficient to go out for your opponent's entire load first. Keeping 1 or 2 scouts close to your base means you'll be able to return deer sooner, which means you'll have to switch villages over to a faster gathering rate. But doing this has completely crippled the Muslim scaling, right? He can go to the north now and collect these corpses, these carcasses. But this does mean that overall, your opponent is going to get his hands on 21 carcasses, most likely, while you'll have to settle for 7. Which means that huge investment in the professional scouts, as it is pricey on the gold, and I think it's 275 gold, it's quite pricey to actually like chomp into. You want more value than just 1 field of deer, right? If you're talking 1 field of deer, especially when you're playing France, you literally could have walked out here, put a mill down, put a few villages here, found your value. So definitely a frustrating opening. The Muslim really needs to kind of rethink what his strategy is here. He's going to have to find a way to ramp up pressure super early. Only has 1 knight moving over right now. And you can see that official anti-kick W has put down a wooden fortress, has a very unexposed wood line, and there's no way you can threaten him. And even with this knight in position, what are you going to do against scouts? Scouts are 110 health. They move the same speed as you. By the time they arrive here, you won't stop them. And you can see that he's moving his scouts across now. And I think possibly if you're lucky, you get 1 or 2 of these carcasses. But I don't know if you're even going to get that. I think you might be too late. It depends how quickly he drops the corpses. But with the Abbey Trinity already being built, I'm very scared for the Muslim in this game. Like, he's not scaling right. He went for these early knights. He's going to be a whole tech behind. And horse archers screw over the knights just because they can keep outrunning them and shooting them. There you go. Look, no time really wasted at all. Immediately moves them through. He does see the 1 knight. And that's why he's going to wait a second to just group up the scouts. But then he'll just move in. If he sacrifices 1 scout, it's fine. Just straight in. The micro is just on point. Just everything just queued up straight away. He does fluff again on 1 of these scouts, but yeah, ultimately they're getting in. He can't stop them, and he knows it. He'll try and block 1 in, but it's very hard in this game. Like, body blocking isn't like it is in Dota or Warcraft, like these type of games. It's very hard to actually properly body block a unit in Age of Empires 4. And so much food just sitting there. Remember, 350 per. We said he got, what, like probably 20, 21 of them. So he's got over 7,000 surplus food just sitting under his TC. And now the Muslim has no way of aggressing it. He's not only a full tech behind, his economy is behind. And when we look at the income per minute, you can see the Muslim doing better on the food for the moment. But with the switch over fully into the deer, I don't expect that to be the same. In fact, official anti-kick W, 18 on food compared to the Muslim at 15. Did the Muslim go for the techs? No, he didn't. Although they're cheaper, he didn't opt to even go for horticulture. Yeah, 1 archery range dropping. Seems quite pathetic in comparison, doesn't it? Official anti-kick W has only gone for 2 archery ranges right now, but there's honestly not much to stop him getting 3. Like, economy at this stage in the game, I think he maybe waits until he's like a 37, 38 villages, and then he goes for a 3rd range. I think he got a very, very solid timing on the Abbey Trinity. Quicker than we've been seeing the average, which means that he wasn't prepped to support 3 archery ranges indefinitely. And that's why he doesn't get greedy about it, right? So I'll move out now. Scouts, remember, can function as a front line to delay any aggression. And also, they're going to be a decent counter against the archers because they're just cannon fodder to engage them in melee. Of course, archers are still a little bit wonky. If you engage with a target that is not the melee target attacking you, you will still get to do ranged attacks. So not necessarily the end of the world for the Muslim. But I'd definitely say that this game is looking like a 70-75% win rate, or win chance rather, for official anti-kick W right now. I don't want to write the Muslim out entirely, but he is at a distinct disadvantage. And that's why he goes for the second TC. He needs to scale past him. And this is where you can do it as France. This is such a powerful play, folks. It's something that we're going to see French players, as it gets picked more and more again, we're going to see them engage with further, which is ignoring the French Knights for the most, if not entirely, only really utilizing the Score Cavalry for cheap access to the scouts, and then pushing into second, third TC and just trying to outscale your opponent and look for a late Castle Age, close to Imperial Age end timing. Because what you're doing instead in that situation is now that the Knight Rush has been nerfed, right, because the Spearmen are stronger and it feels less effective, the new play is to actually aim for the Arbor timing, your crossbows, which are in the Castle Age. And if you can hit that timing, which you can do quite solidly if you go on multiple TCs, then you can actually just outpace your opponent and outscale them in the game. And remember, if you can actually survive that onslaught, you'll actually be better off than the Roost player. The Roost players, right now, the way Roost works is they tend to kind of peak in the Castle Age. That's not to say they can't go beyond, but the way that the players strategize and the way that they build is intended for them to actually close the game out in Castle Age. And if it goes Imperial Age, something's gone wrong. I'll tell you what, the Relics count is not going wrong, though. The Muslim still not teched up, still not in position to stop his opponent. Is finally going to drop the guild hall around the back. 6 people working on it. But this is one of the annoying things right now about Rus. And that's why I think maybe, like, for a higher price, give other civs access to, like, a mounted monk or something. Because the problem that is going to occur in this matchup is, outside of guarding the relics, there is no way that the Muslim is going to stop official anti-kick W, because he doesn't want to go for a temple, right? A temple is costly at this stage in the game, 200 wood. And then he has to build these monks that move extremely slow. So you're very unlikely to deny your opponent. Even less so when you got this much of a head start, and you can already see it in the relic numbers, right? There's one over here that hasn't been banked, and another one coming in. So you're not stopping him at all. And that's just incredibly frustrating, right? That just means he gets more gold treacle without investing economy. It means even though you've gone into this second TC, right now your opponent is just, like, out-ecoing you because he's got AFK eco as well as active one, right? And remember what we talked about, like, one relic, giving 100 gold, that's kind of equal to 2 workers. I'd say around that number is maybe fair. So it's definitely pain. I think the really frustrating thing about Roost, by the way, and something that needs to change, is it's not even the Horse Archer spam as much as it is the prioritization around relics. As I said, I do think other civs need some alternative to a slow-moving monk. Maybe there's a way to upgrade them to have horsemen or something. Because right now, it feels like Roost are vastly ahead of the pack. Like, despite not being classified as a religious civ, they are the #1 religious civ, in my opinion. Followed up by HRE, and then probably Delhi. So chase in. Horse Archers, plenty of them to harass the eco. He hasn't spotted the expansion just yet. That expansion is protected at the moment, only up to 10 workers, so they'd all be able to garrison. But it slows things down, right? Snipes out 1 or 2 villagers, keeps his opponent away. Spots out that he's switched over to farms, so there is going to be this cluster that he can't access that the Muslim has protected. But this is what he needs to reach. This wood line is so incredibly valuable. And yeah, these maps do have a very finite amount of wood, right? So once you get through these pockets, you have to expand somewhere more dangerous. If you come down here, it's 40 your base, maybe the Horse Archers reach you more easily. And these maps can be considered to kind of be weaker for the Roost. I think this one's actually fine. This like Dry Arabia is not too bad. I think King of the Hill feels wonky, in my opinion, for Roost, just because I think the wood pockets are like half the size of this, your initial wood pockets. So you have a more finite number of trees to actually cut down before you have to expand your economy, right? But that being said, you should still be able to reach your Horse Archer timing fairly easily. And these Horse Archers, just too many of them. They do stack inside the TC, so decent amount of Horse Archers taken out. Just trying to keep the power in check. But the Muslim just centralizing his economies around these TCs, these retreat points, right? Not looking to expose any weakness to the Horse Archers, not looking to give any free hand over to official anti-kick W. And it is an effective solution. Until he's ready, this is how you actually scale your economy. You just have to have TC, build around it, don't expand out. And it's a very weird feeling as a French player doing this, by the way. France doesn't do this often. France is infamous for pocket expansions, right? Like, I'll take 7 villages and send them out to a deer line. Or I'll move my villages down to this gold line and I'll maybe put an outpost down, but screw it, that'll be a reactionary thing. I never do that preemptively. This is a whole different ballgame. Everything you do is going to have to be preemptive. Because official anti-kick W is going to keep you reactionary in this game. And yeah, you can already see the only reaction you have is to retreat. These Horse Archers, just too damn many of them. More villagers exposed here. As he accidentally, I think he accidentally attack clicked with them. So, more villagers lost. Anti-kick W currently at 48, 64 for the Muslim. He's still scaling past. Income per minute, you can see he's still ahead though. And it is that gold treacle factor, right? How many villages are being committed, right? You've got 10 working on that line, so you actually have to take 10 away from the difference, right? So then you're at 56 to 48 difference. But then on top of everything else in this situation, it's just the fact that he's getting the more efficient drop-offs from the wooden fortress being there, right? So every 5 villages, an additional villager working on a wood line. So 24 compared to the 35, you can see how that number actually almost evens out, right? It's actually more like 29 versus 35. These are where the differences are coming in. Just trying to explain that math to people, because you're going to look at these numbers, you're going to hear the eco count, you go, that makes no sense. And keep in mind that actually, if you wanted, as anti-kick W, you could make this even better by building hunting cabins, because then you trickle in even more gold. But he doesn't care, because the ridiculous part, I think, about Roos right now is that they don't need gold. Look at it. He's almost got 2k surplus. He can just trade for whatever he needs, or he can transition to Night Slayer, or Springles, or Trebs. Literally anything. The world is his oyster. And that's what makes it so absurd right now. How do you fix this? Some people have argued directly nerf horse archers. Their damage, their health, something. I disagree with that. I think horse archers should cost gold. I don't understand. Like, I understand why they cost less than Magadai, because 1, they can't shoot on the go, and 2, you get access to them in castle instead of feudal. What I do not for the life of me understand is why they cost wood instead of gold. Gold is considered a more finite resource, right? And I think the other issue you have is because of what we talked about, the wooden fortress and the additional drop-off, it's so much more efficient and valuable to be able to pay food and wood as Roos for your most critical unit at this stage of the game. And it's what makes them too strong. Because you seemingly never run out. And now, look at the spend on the resources. Straight into Imp. It just naturally flows in. Because all he needs to do is put 2/3 of his villagers on food, 1/3 on wood, nobody on gold, and you'll still get Imp Age before 20 minutes. That's the game right now. Horse Archer's moving in. The Muslim's economy is exposed. Finds the pocket expansion with the farms. We said that this was going to be the risky thing that the Muslim could not do. And because he done it in the end, how many did he lose there? 55, 61! So he sniped what, 10? At least 10. Like, what was the gap? At least, I think it was 20 at one point. So huge gap closed there. Huge value for anti-kick W. Yes, he loses a decent amount of the horse archers, but they pay for themselves in what they've done. And he's already rebuilt the army in the center. And he's already almost done with the Imp-Age tech up. And then if he wants, he can switch over to Streltsy. He can go for the Bombards. It doesn't matter. He has choices. And the Muslim is not. The Muslim is stripped of all choice, and is feeling irrelevant right now in this. Honestly, right now, it feels like it'd be more of a challenge for anti-kick W to be playing himself. And that is not an insult to the Muslim. It is an insult to France versus the Roos, as we're seeing right now. And with 3 sacred points as well. Like, we talked about the gold treacle. The gold treacle is even more ridiculous. It's getting close to the 1,000 gold a minute mark. And he hasn't got a single person on a gold vein. Instead, now gathering the stones. So, anti-kick W, what he wants to do is he wants to do a forward keep drop next to his base, supported by Bombards at the end of the game. And he could easily do it at this rate. So Horse Archer's retreating for the moment. Forces the Muslim to come out to decap the sacred site. He could actually pounce on this army if he wanted to. He has so many Horse Archers. Archer count is 32 for the Muslim, but remember, this isn't the Magadai trade we talked about, right? These Horse Archers damage for more than you. They have more health, but they don't cost double, right? Like 30-50 compared to 80-40, right? It's only 1.5 times multiplier compared to Magadai, where Magadai costs double the amount of an archer. And now Siege Workshop's going down. I'm pretty sure you just get 2 Magadails and your opponent is done with this game, right? Because you've got archer formations. And it does not feel good to have to put them into the stagger formation, and whenever you attack click them, they're going to get out of staggered and just start to cluster up. But I don't think it's going to even come to that. It's elite horse archer status now, right? He also took the additional range. He was about to complete it. And once this is done, the game is done. You can't match him at that stage, right? The additional 2 range, putting them up at 6.5, outranges the veteran archers. It means he'll just pick you off without taking any casualties. And he's already engaged and he doesn't care. He doesn't even want to wait. Keep being dropped in the meantime. Knight's trying to wrap around. And the Warrior Monks do engage, try and delay this somewhat. Horse Archer's backing up a little bit, but this is do or die for the Muslim. And I think he knows this game is coming to a close. He can see with these numbers that he can't beat it. But you know what? You'd be kicking yourself if you didn't at least try, right? So additional range gained. Back up fully. Archers almost spent. Knights all but gone. Still way too many horse archers to get through, and you're on home territory, right? With 4 of these archery rangers pushing out horse archers quicker than you can reinforce. This should be the game. Most of them will realize it as well. Like, he tried his best. I like that he gave it an effort, but it was always going this way. This is the power of Roost right now. This is why it will probably be the next Civ to get nerfed, frankly. I just hope it doesn't get nerfed too hard. And I hope they find a way to get a more diverse structure to them. Because right now, the name of the game is Roost, and the name of the Roost is Horse Archer.